Hey guys, I'm Gerald Swindle, Team Toyota Bass Angler. My brand new truck, I have already put some miles on, some heavy miles. Twin turbo V6, you got more power than you could ever dream of. Fuel economy's there. The braking ability, you can stop on a dime. Navigation system this big, so even my 50-year-old eyes can see what's going on.
Hi, everybody. I'm Terry Brown, and this is Bass 365 Livecast. And with me today is one of the hottest young anglers in the country, and has been for the last couple, 2 or 3 years, is Tristan McCormick. You know, Tristan, I'm watching you go through the college ranks and go to the Classic and do all that kind of stuff. But I think a lot of the people who are watching this will want to know kind of some background. You're from Tennessee, you know, what your home lake is, when you started fishing, some of those kind of things. So if you give me that, if you would.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. Always love doing this with Bass 365. But yeah, a little background from Dixon, Tennessee. Home Lakes, Kentucky Lake. Unfortunately, used to be the best lake in the country, but Asian carp's kind of taking that over. It's a whole different story. But I started fishing when I was about, of course, in a younger age, growing up fishing the ponds with my grandpa, Keith Mountain, and really got competitive fishing in about the age of 13 to 14, right in that high school career type deal. And fished a couple high school tournaments. Fast forward, went to college, and the experience you learn in college, I give all young anglers: go to college and fish if you can, because you will learn so much about it. You will learn so much about sport. You'll make friends that will last a lifetime, and it's a lot of fun. It really is.
Well, you know, it's funny because about 2007, 2006 in Illinois, we started the high school fishing deal. And college had kind of been going a little bit. I think there was maybe 200 teams or 150 teams. And it's amazing to me the negativity that I heard from athletic directors initially. You know, they were kind of like, "Oh, you're just causing us a bunch of work and all that kind of stuff. Are we going to get the kids?" And we started out with like 2,400 kids in Illinois, and we're at 20,000 kids now. So you were
Yeah.
you were right on the cusp of that happening, and you know it's fun to watch the kids that really didn't have any involvement in sports, didn't have any involvement, and you might have, but there's a lot of kids that didn't, and they all of a sudden are wearing their school colors and some of that kind of stuff. So fishing has taken a place for the schools that's made it really cool. And you know, did you fish high school? Did you fish? Did you have a high school team or anything like that?
Yeah, growing up in high school, we had a handful of guys on a team, and like you said, with the college deal, with me in high school, it was right at that level to where, it might be something, it might not, and there's like 100 teams in the national championship, maybe less, but now there's like 400.
Mm-hmm.
So now it just keeps growing and growing and growing, and same way with college. Bethel University was actually the first school to offer a scholarship for fishing, and it's just led on from there. Almost every school in the nation offers a scholarship to go fish for college, and I just think that's truly amazing. But the athletic directors, like he was talking about, and I'm sure a lot of people have negativity thoughts about it because you're gone so much from school. It's taking you out of the school environment. So really, and to go fish for college, it's a double takedown because you've got to study as soon as you come off the water. You've got to get your homework done, and you got to have your teachers, and got to have that relationship with your teachers to be able to do the work when you get back, whether it's tests, quizzes, or whatever. So yeah, there's a lot to it than just going out and fishing for sure.
Well, on the bass side, the late Jerry McKinnis and Angie Thompson came up here and visited with me when we did the high school thing. And now it's taken off on the bass side, the FLW side, not so much, but or MLF side, excuse me, not so much, but it's going to continue to grow. And you know, you're right. The Bethel University where you went to school has kind of set the groundwork for everybody else. And you guys have had people go to the Classic almost every year, and now this year again, this second number two, you get to go again. And I see that big trophy sitting behind you there, but that was at a Central Open, which
Yeah.
really qualified you to get to go do it, right?
Absolutely, no. And I carry this trophy around me. I have since I got back because it's so surreal, to be 24 years old, and this is the last thing I expected, in my first full year as, trying to do something, try to become pro. And it's just truly amazing. I carry it around everywhere. I just can't keep smiling looking at it.
Talk about your support system. You've got a support system with family and that kind of stuff, but tell me a little bit about that if you would.
Yeah, my support system, it's truly amazing. It's hard to put into words what it is. Before I even got off the stage, I took a quick glimpse at my phone, and I had 280 something text messages, and I was like, I mean, this is just insane. And by the time I got home, I had 300 and something, and not even including Facebook and Instagram messages. The guys you fish against, their support. I mean, it's just truly amazing when somebody wins. It's like everybody in the field is congratulating you, and that's something special. And I've never got to experience it at this level. Even like when I won the bracket last year, I was blown away. I said, this might be the last time I ever win. You just don't ever know. And to accomplish, what's behind me right here is truly a blessing, and it'll be a day I'll never forget for sure.
Well, think about that. I mean, really, you've accomplished the Classic 2 times, which a lot of people go through their entire careers and don't make it once. And that's got to be something that you look back and you go, if nothing else happens, this is pretty cool. But you've got your whole fishing career in front of you right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the Classic, like with Bethel, it was me and KJ last year, and Cody Huff. Well, that was his first full year on the leads this year. So it's actually me, KJ, and Cody Huff this year. So we'll have 3 Bethel University alumni guys there. And man, we've already talked. We're like, dude, we're gonna have so much fun. We're gonna room together. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be just like the old days.
All right, so you've got to make a decision here somewhere along the line, and behind you is a Bassmaster Opens trophy. And you're gonna have to make a decision: do I go on the MLF side, or do I go on the Bass side, or do I do both? And it might be cognitive to be able to do that. But have you thought that through at all? If you decide to go to the top level, is there one place that you have a better opinion of than the other?
You know, it's all he say, she say in the day's world. And I look at it, I made the invitationals this year. I did it through the Northern Toyota Series, and I fish a lot of events. I fished 18 events this year. And for me, I have nothing bad to say about either Bass or MLF. I love both of them. And, I'm just a kid that loves to go fishing. I don't care if it's blue and gold or black and red or whatever. A trophy's the trophy to me. And I'm just so obsessed with the sport of fishing. And I don't know. I'm gonna play it out. I'm gonna try to keep fishing both and fish invitationals next year, and try to fish some opens and just see. And I just feel like God's gonna try to steer me in which way is best for me, whether it's MLF or Bass. I don't know. So I'm just gonna play it out day by day.
Oh, you hedged real good there. You did a good job of hedging. I like that. The thing with Bass next year, the Opens, in order to make the Elite Series, they've got a new system, and that new system is you got to fish 9 events.
Yeah.
So, are you just going to pick and choose the ones you fish on the Open side, and then, or pick a a division 1, 2, or 3, or are you gonna do something different than that and fish all 9?
I don't. I would love to fish all 9, but there's going to be some conflicts with the invitationals, and I feel like personally, I'm gonna have to go fish the invitationals because it's a pro level. And I accomplished something this year in my head that I set a goal out to qualify for either the elites or the invitationals because it's a pro level at the end of the day. And for me to go out and achieve that goal, that's huge in my program. And like I said, we're just gonna play it out. I'm definitely gonna fish some opens next year if I can't fish all 9, but I kind of want to just sit back and see what's going to happen with the Bassmaster Opens next year. Having to fish all 9. Well, in my head, I'm like, well, there could be 200 guys or there could be 50 guys doing it. So, I'm just going to sit back and fish as much as I can next year and try to just play it out and see. I would love to be on the elites. Don't get me wrong. I would love to go to the elites and I would love to go to the BPT. And, because either way, I would love to just go make a living at fishing. I don't care if it's catching all I can catch or catching 5 or whatever it is. I just want to grow my name and try to become the best I can become in the sport.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your fishing if we can. I noticed that you were throwing a little bit of sexy dog activity there at Hartwell, and you were talking about groups and like wolf packs of fish that you were kind of searching for. And you said that one day there was only like 2 or 3 in a pack, whereas the day before there was a lot more. Was it pressure related? Was it weather related that changed that? And tell me a little bit about how your days went at Hartwell.
Yeah, so me and John Garrett, we had a protein journal film 2 weeks before. So we went up there. Now there's already a lot of guys practicing. That's a whole different story. And so we went out and shot that film, and we kind of got on this bite. Both of us did, because we was in the same boat. It was awesome. The fish were high in the water column, and they were chewing. You could throw something over top of them, fast retrieve, and they would come up and eat it. So I was like, oh, okay, So I went home, come back Sunday night. I fished Monday and Tuesday. I took Wednesday off and got the boat ready. But Monday I went back out there, and it was exactly how it was when I left. When me and John left. Tuesday kind of glimmered off a little bit. There wasn't a lot of wind. It was sunny, blue cast, and going into the first day, I rolled up to my first spot and where there was like thousands of them. I mean, they were feeding like hungry sharks there in practice. And I was like, this is the best place, I feel like. So I rolled up and I looked around and I was like, I'm not seeing as many. They're bottom. And I saw like a little wolf pack of like 4 or 5 and like 25 foot of water on the bottom just swimming around. I was like, I'm gonna try it. I picked my drop shot up, flipped it over there, and caught a 4 pounder. And I was like, well, there you go, you big dummy. You just figured it out. So I ran with that the rest of the tournament. And every time we go to these lakes, I don't care how big they are, how long they are, how many miles, they get so much pressure. When guys are running around for 2 to 3 weeks in advance, there's more and more boats showing up every day. Fish are getting hammered. Nobody's shaking anything off, and they get smart. I mean, they're a living, breathing creature, and they're not going to sit there and get their heads plastered in on the same spot by 20 different boats that's found them. They're going to change it up. So as an angler, that's in my head. I feel like that's where I got to adapt. That's where I've got to change my plan, on the fly, because you can't rely on anything you find in practice, especially in October on Lake Hartwell, because they're blue heron fish. They have tails and they swim around a lot. So that was a big thing for me, and just the first day I went and ran all my stuff, caught 16 pounds. The second day I got down there and like 10 o'clock I had like 6 pounds, and I was like, this is not right. So I left. I had a long day. I was doing it almost 6 o'clock, and I went and ran all new water from like 11 o'clock to check in. And that's really what got me into the top 10, because if I would have done that, if I would have tried to stay down there and just grind it out on them spots, I probably wouldn't have caught much, because there were so many boats down there. And I was like, I'm just going to go fishing. So that's what happened.
That's how you win. That's the story of winning right there, is making those adjustments. What bait were you using on the drop shot?
We come out with Strike King. We come out at ICAST. It's called the new filler worm. It's a morning dawn color, man. It's my favorite color. And a little background on it. I actually won the bracket on a pink worm on a drop shot that got me to the Classic, and I just got back to the Classic on a pink worm on a drop shot. So, needless to say, I love a drop shot. Like I said again, the pressure. Sometimes, really not sometimes, all the time we go to these places, there's so much pressure. You have to downsize, lighter weights, lighter line, and try to finesse those fish, because they're getting smarter every day.
Well, it's funny. Like Biffle and Brower and those guys are known for the jig and a flipping stick and that kind of stuff. Are you going to be the pink worm guy? Is that how this is going to turn out?
Probably so.
Yeah,
Probably so.
it's nice. I can tell you that Hall of Fame speeches were indicative of this. Is that the guys that have been around a long time and have continued to perform are a little bit leery of you guys. You guys have started out. Honestly, it's a great thing, because when I started fishing, we had flashers. The first depth finder I had was a string with a weight and some sort of float, and I'd throw out 3 or 4 of them and let them float, and then I knew where the ledges were.
Right.
Then we went to the flashers, of course, and then LCRs and all that other stuff. You guys have computers at the front of your boat. And the funny thing is, a lot of guys don't know how to use them. They want them because they see guys using them having success, but you have to learn them, don't you?
Absolutely, and like you were saying, you grew up in the flasher, the old school world, and for me, I grew up in the world of technology, and for me, without the graphs, all the technology, I feel naked. I feel like I have no chance. I know that's bad to say, but everybody has them nowadays, and if you don't have it, you're so far behind, because you can't. I mean, you don't have to just use them to catch fish off of them. You got to use them to pull into a creek in 5, 6 foot of water, look around, see if there's bait, see if there's life in the area. You don't have to use it the whole time to catch fish off of it. And another thing is too, with your forward facing sonar, when you drop that thing in the water on your trolling rod, that is the most accurate water temp you will have.
Right.
It's 10 times more accurate than off the one off underneath the back of the boat, underneath the motor. So every time you drop that thing in the water, you can see the water temp fluctuate, and that's big too. So I mean, just the little stuff like that. That's where it prevails for sure.
All right, let's talk about it a little bit. You've got, the electronics portion of this thing is growing crazy. Is mapping probably more critical at times than than the actual live scope or anything like that, or do you think they're equal? Do you think they play the game the same way?
They play the game the same way, and the Humminbird maps are absolutely amazing. The side scan is absolutely amazing, and the 360. I use the 360 so much, and there's just there's so much good things about than just forward facing sonar. Each company has amazing stuff. They all work, but for me, the Humminbird's kind of the 1-2 punch deal, because they got the best all around, like one boat network, I guess you could say, or they got the best of everything from the 360 to the side scan to Lake Master. So it's all pretty amazing.
Yeah, Lake Master's been a great map from since day one, and probably the most accurate. Now they're getting better. All of them are. You've got 360 now, and then it's got Mega 360, I'm sure. Tell me a little bit about, are you using it full dimension? Are you using it full 360? Or are you breaking it down almost like forward looking sonar? What are you doing there?
So, I'm running a lot of graphs up front, and I got one specifically for, forward facing Mega Live, and I got one for 360 just initially, and I got another one for 2D and map. But what I do a lot of times with a 360, I run one screen just on the half shell for like where at the bottom of it and the front. So it's a brighter picture. But then on the other screen, I'm running it full 360. So that way, because I like to have that one screen blown up in front of me to see what's in front of me. But sometimes, you get caught up looking around, you're trolling around, and you might pass something. So then I'll look back on my other screen, and I was like, oh crap, there's a rock pile behind me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's kind of like what I would like to do. They're both connected, they're both the same 360, but having that, zoomed in version of it and then having that zoomed out version of it's pretty neat if you can do both of them.
Well, what kind of boat are you running?
This year I'm running the Nitro, and
Nitro.
it's the one I
Well, that's right.
won.
You got
And
the
yeah,
college one. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that's another amazing thing about Bass. With the college side, they allow whoever wins the bracket. I mean, it sets them up. You get all 9 opens paid for. I'm whipping around a brand new Toyota Tundra, brand new boat. It comes with money from dynamic sponsorships, Costa, Toyota. Man, it's just so amazing, and they're giving the guy who wins that amazing platform to try to go run and start your career off. It's truly amazing.
I think they call that living the dream, right? That's something like that.
Yeah, living the dream package.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I remember Matt Lee a long time ago. He and I were in a boat right after he'd won that, and now his brother Jordan's taking everybody's money too. But you've got so many guys have had a good kickstart with that. Let's talk a little bit about power management. You're talking about all the graphs you're running. What are you running at the console?
Same thing, running two Helix 12s at the console. I keep one full screen on side scan and maybe down. I really don't use down so much anymore because the Mega Side is so good. I'm running it on 150, 160 feet out. And, but here, recently we really hadn't been having to use it much. I'm mainly just firing up the Lake Master. And that's it, really. At Hartwell, I didn't need none of that stuff. Really, I wasn't scanning. It was mainly just putting the trolling motor down and going. But definitely in ledge season, that's another thing I love to do is fish offshore. I caught a lot of fish this year, and I got some screenshots on my phone of some mega wads of schools, and that mega side imaging, it's pretty legit.
Well, I want to get into the power management thing because they're power eaters. But I also want to talk. Have you bought a house at Lake Hartwell yet?
Do what?
Have you bought a house at Lake Hartwell yet? It's been pretty good to you.
No, not yet. I guess I need to because, man, I've been to Hartwell a bunch. Throughout the college, we usually go at least 1 or 2 times a year in college. So I was there 5 years of that, and then the classic. I learned Hartwell's a place you can learn something different every time you go.
Mhm.
And I mean, like when we was there in the classic in March, I mean these fish were schooling, and it was cold. So I mean, you learn so much about blueback herringfish and Hartwell especially. There's a ton of water to fish. You can run up the rivers. You can try to go chase largemouth, but I've learned and I've seen the largemouth side of things. You have got to be on them at Hartwell to catch largemouth 3 days in a row because I don't feel like there's that many in the area, especially like when we was just there. The water is real low. Your little beavers, your big beavers, your 6 and 20s, all of that structure that usually holds them largemouth was 20 feet from the bank. So it was a whole different ball game this time. But I truly thought Spots could have won, and a lot of people didn't believe me, and I was like, well, I said that's what I'm going to do. So, but I
What
did.
do
I did.
you said you're from, you fish Kentucky Lake a lot, and it's tough as nails. There's no question.
Yeah,
It's getting better. People need to know that it's coming around a
yeah,
little.
it is.
But how do are you consider yourself a finesse fisherman, a power fisherman, a topwater guy? How do you consider yourself? Are you versatile? Tell me about how you consider yourself.
I consider myself an off the bank fisherman. It's what I love to do. I hate fishing the bank. Absolutely hate it more than anything. Because, like, for me, going down the bank, I always feel like I'm fishing behind somebody. And I mean, offshore, you can be fishing behind somebody too, but in my head, I feel like I can outfish them guys offshore. And a lot of guys are the same way of shallow. You're like, well, no, I can go behind guys and get bites. Well, I feel the same way offshore. So, I love fishing brush. On Kentucky Lake, that's about all you can do now to take a bite
Right.
and just run around. And I don't know. I love fishing off the bank. I love using my electronics to my advantage, and because, like I said, that's what I grew up in. So
It's amazing what vegetation does too. I can
yeah,
remember, I fished a lot of Kentucky Lake as well, and it was chock full of vegetation, and then it all went away. And then of course, so we get the carp and all the other stuff that goes on with that. But I think they're getting ahead of it, and ultimately, these lakes go through cycles. Typically a lake will be, Katie bar the door, and then pretty soon they become less of that.
right.
And it's amazing to me to watch how versatile you young guys are in particular. Hey, I hit this bank 20 years ago is different now. You got to get offshore. Do you think those fish that are offshore are still less pressured, or do you think they get just as much pressure?
There you can say either or on that. Um, like we said again, as good as the mapping is nowadays for Lake Master, everybody's got it. There's there's a good chance people are going to find what you're fishing offshore, without a doubt. But offshore, they have a lot more places to readjust than they do on the bank. And I feel like for me, that's where you take 10 boats that go down a bank, one stretch of bank. There's probably not going to be none left. You
Mm-hmm.
take 10 boats that fish a shoal on Lake Hartwell, well, they can go a lot of different places on that shoal, whether it's pull off the brush, go in the brush, go up onto the shallowest water up on the shoal. There's zones, and I feel like to answer the question, the fish offshore get less pressure than they do on the bank. Yes.
Well, and with bluebacks, they become pretty pelagic. They move a lot. They're following those bait fish around. And I know that the guys who've gotten really, really good offshore are the guys that understand the bait as well as they do the fish they're catching, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You've got Kentucky Lake shad population. You've got other things in there. You've got glass minnows. You got some of that kind of stuff. At Hartwell, is it all blueback or do you have shad too?
It's mainly blueback. There's some threadfin in there. I actually saw a lot of threadfin this time, but like the heron I was catching or seeing was like as long as this pin. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
And I caught several that spit up big heron. I caught several that spit up, pinky sized threadfin. So I feel like the bigger fish on the lower end of Lake Hartwell towards the dam are mainly feeding on, those 3 or 4 inch herring, because that's what you see more of down there than anything, and it's pretty neat.
Yeah, they're high protein fish too, and the fish seem to do real well in those bodies of water. Fishermen don't like them so well.
Yeah,
They get a little bit aggravated that they move the fish around so much, but
yeah.
it seems like a guy like you that found them, were able to figure them out, were able to still catch them. You're not complaining too much about doing that. Tell me about some of the people you're working with. I know Strike King, of course, but tell me some of the others. You mentioned Dynamic Sponsorships and Toyota and Nitro and all those people, but who else are you working with?
Yeah, so I'll just run down the list. Toyota, Nitro, Mercury, Humminbird, Sea Clear Power. That was a huge part of my role and success this week was having your full advantage, having your full potential out of your units. So that helps. Strike King Lose, Mercury, Eternal Lithium, Bass Reaper First Contact, ACG Conveyors, Stewart Marine, Clark Marine. I'm sorry. Costa.
Sound
Might be
like you got
leaving
a
some
batch.
people.
Tell me you got
Yeah, I might be leaving some people out. I'm kind of looking around for a
As a,
picture.
as
So
a,
I'm
as a,
like,
as the phone run off the hook since you won this tournament, has it helped a little bit?
it's been crazy. When I won a bracket, my phone, I thought blew up. This is twice as worse. I mean, it's an amazing thing to see, and like I said, seeing all the texts, all the support, all the messages on Instagram and Facebook, man, it's humbling. It really is, and it still hasn't sank in yet. I've been carrying this thing around with me everywhere I go
You
because
should.
I mean, it's such an accomplishment in my life, and I'll never forget it.
You know, it's funny. Guys that win say sometimes they don't want to toot their own horn. I always say get to tooting because you don't have any idea if you're going to do it again, right? I mean, it's kind of one of
Exactly.
those deals. Toot the heck out of it, carry it with you, take it with you when you go to the store or whatever, and you get a big check. You got a big check, right?
Yeah. I got 47,000.
Well, but I'm not talking about the money in it. I'm talking about the physical big check. Did you
Oh
get
no,
that?
I didn't get a Happy Gilmore check,
Oh man,
unfortunately.
you got to ask them for one of those. That's
I
the deal,
know.
I think.
I
You know,
know.
that is something you can carry around. You go to the bank with a real check, and they don't care as long as you got that big one with you. You know.
Yeah,
All right,
for
let's talk
sure.
back. I wanted to back up on the power thing a little bit. You talked about C Clear, which I think is that whole harness situation, whether it's C Clear or whoever, has changed the game as far as the way our electronics work and the way they look. I mean, you mentioned that it was critical to your fishing there. Tell me a little bit about how you got engaged. Was it like when you looked at it the first time with regular power versus the C Clear? Did you go, holy moly, I was missing stuff?
Yeah, so flashback to about 3 years ago, I got my new Blazer and went down to Lake Seminole for a college event, and I put the boat in the water without the sea clear, and started idling around. I was like, it looks all right, whatever. You can get by with it for sure. But I got home, flash forward a couple months later, we put the sea clear in my boat, and I got out, and I was like, holy crap. I mean, people don't understand it until they see it with their own eyes. With people, I mean, when you spend so much money on units, you're spending $5,000-6,000 on units. Why not spend a couple $100s on a harness that can get the full potential out of your units?
Right,
It's going to speed them up. It's at the end of the day when you're running your live wells all day long. It's not going to put stress on your battery.
right,
There's no in between. Well, if something goes wrong with the graph and like, oh, it might be at the console or it might be at the back of the battery, because nobody really knows how these boat manufacturers run their units linked into the console.
right,
Because there for a long time, your power switch at your dash, you turn it off and you lose everything,
right.
units included. So the volt system, it's amazing. I'm running 6 graphs, and it was 13.2 in the morning, and at the end of the day, running my live wells all day long, both of them, nonstop. I was like at 12.1, 12.2.
And it's a home run. You know, your home run from unit to battery, which the console underneath the console. If you ever crawled underneath one,
Yeah,
it's spaghetti shop.
wires everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and if you hook up to the power in the front of the boat, it's usually a little patch panel or something like that. So
yeah.
there's RF interference and some of that kind of stuff. This basically eliminates all that, right?
And the wires are super thin as well. So if the boat manufacturers, they're getting better because Nathan is just flying by everybody. So if people are not wanting to carry the harness, they're trying to make something like it. But Nathan's wire gauge is so big, and you compare that to the regular hot and ground on underneath the console or underneath the bow. It's night and day difference. It really
Right,
is. And
right.
why would you want your unit run off of a wire the size of a phone charger? I mean, it's just not going to work. And
Well,
all
it's
the
20,
rough water,
20
yeah,
gauge, 22 gauge coming out of the unit. But the other thing that I think is important to note here is the ends, the
the
connectors.
connectors,
Connectors
yeah,
are awesome. As a matter of fact, if I could get a bucket of connectors, I'd take them because I'd use them on everything. They're
yeah,
so easy to handle, manage, all that kind of stuff. That Nathan's connectors are really good as well.
yeah. They don't come undone in rough water, no matter what. And each power, so if you're running 4 units and 360 and a live, that's 4, 5. That's 6 fuses you'll have separate on the wire. So if something goes wrong with the unit, you lose power. Well, it's easy. That's the first place you can check that fuse.
Mhm.
It's all separate connectors, and it's truly amazing. It really is. It's definitely changed the game.
Well, and I'm not trying to do a commercial here for Nathan, but I can tell you that his connectors with the fuses built into them are much better than the ones you get from the manufacturer too. Heavier
Absolutely.
wire, better connectors. It's just a
Yeah.
better outfit all around. Now,
And how he installs them. He puts the cutoff switch at the back.
Right.
So a lot of people don't realize even if them units are off, they're still pulling power.
Right.
So you can, at the end of the day, open your lid, kill the power. There's no power going to anything. Your batteries are going to sit there and standalone charge with nothing pulling off of them.
The power's an Achilles heel now. I mean, it
Yeah.
really is. I mean, you can talk about break of line or losing a bait or bending a hook out or whatever, but really power is probably one of the key elements to this whole game now. You know, everybody talks about the graphs and all that stuff, but if you don't have good power to those graphs, are really not worth much.
Absolutely.
So clean power is very, very important. Now you've been doing this your whole lifetime. I want to know about Gary Mason. Is he a pretty good cat?
Oh yeah, Gary's a good cat for
He
sure.
is. I know Gary well. It's funny to watch the maturation of the college game, and a lot of it has to do with Bethel. Honestly, I mean, they were the first ones to do it, and Gary's always been hustling for a long, long time. He's got the Legends of the Outdoors and a lot of things that he does. Do you talk to him pretty regular still, since you're kind of finishing up your career at the college level?
Oh yeah, but me and Gary, I mean, it's a little different relationship. I feel like, and we talk about it all the time. He's amazing. He's had my back so much, and he done called me like 6 times before I left, and I finally called him back. He's like, Bubba, I didn't think he was ever going to call me back. So we've had a fun 5 years together, and he's somebody that I could easily call at any time, and wherever I'm at, whatever I need, he'll try to do everything in his power to get it to me.
You mentioned at the very beginning about the people you've met through college fishing, and I think that sometimes is minimized. Is that people don't realize that these are, it's sort of like your high school friends. You go back to your high school friends after you've been out of high school for 10 years,
You don't
they're still
really
your
know.
buddies. You talk about the same things.
Yeah.
Now, the college thing, because you have this common denominator of fishing involved in it, it makes it pretty special. And these guys are going to be guys you're going to be competing against, you're going to be traveling with, you're going to be going to restaurants with. It's a pretty special deal to watch this thing the way it's taking shape.
Yeah, it definitely has. I always say to the younger kids, ask me in high school, should I go to college, what it's about? I said, when you go to college and fish, you will make friends that will last a lifetime. And more so than high school, because that's like a different era, a different generation. It's like everybody splits in high school and goes to the college, and that's truly where, and my parents told me that too, and I didn't really believe them. They were like, you'll make friends that will last a lifetime, that will be there 30 years down the road, and compared to the high school friends, for sure.
Right. You've got, with your situation now, sorry about the phone ringing.
No, you're good.
You've got a situation now to where you're going to do a lot of stuff on the water. You talk about fishing all the time, 18 tournaments and all that kind of stuff. How much are you doing off the water? How much book reading, internet scoping around, looking to see what people are doing, looking at the mapping, doing some of that kind of stuff. Are you doing that still?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time on Google Earth when I had the time. I really hadn't had much time this year. It's been go, 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 drive 18 hours here, fish for 2 or 3 days, drive 18 hours there. And no, but like here recently, like when I come home, I just try to relax. I try to spend time with my fiance because I'm gone so much, my dog, my mom and dad, and it hit a little different this year as much as I was gone, away from my family. And I just got engaged, and I hate leaving her when, I got to leave for a month or 2 months or whatever it is. So, I mean, yeah, I still do my studying, late at night or something, or early in the morning, because I can't ever sleep no more. I don't know why. And like I got home from this one, I was like, oh, I'm going to sleep in the morning. I rolled over, looked at my phone, it's 5:30. I said, oh my gosh. But yeah,
Well,
for sure.
Ricky gave me a warning. We were thinking about maybe doing this thing on Sunday, and he said, or Monday, getting this thing rolling. And he said, no, he's going to rest after this tournament. I said, he's a young dude, man. He should be able to keep her going all this time. You got to burn the candle at both ends when you're as young as you are.
For sure, and
for me.
And it's hard. I mean, I am young, but it's hard on my body. I can tell as the year goes on, my back, I don't know, I'm gonna have to go to the chiropractor or something, because I fell to my knees a couple times this week because I had such a sharp pain in my back, and it's mainly from like looking down, or everybody's got great posture first thing in the morning, you're standing up straight, but by the end of the day, you're like shrugged over. So it does a toll on your body for sure. I don't care how old you are or how young you are.
All right, I'm gonna go down a path with you because I really believe this. It's like, you don't have nets, you don't have all this other kind of stuff. You guys don't use butt seats at all. When
Mm-mm.
you're 66 years old, I will tell you the best thing I ever did was use a butt seat because I don't have a bad back. All right. And I watch you guys standing up there in the ocean with the thing going up and down and people getting the crap beat out of them. And then you run 60 miles in waves and everything else. Rest assured, David Fritz, Terry Brown, a lot of the guys that are using butt seats or did use them, save their backs. And everybody goes, well, it's in the way and it's too crowded and it's got this, I can't get stuff moving around. Your back is very, very important. You mentioned it. I mean,
Yeah.
you're a very young man, and once in a while, I'm on this, what do you call it, crusade.
Yeah.
Use the butt seat. I've got a kid I fish with that's 28 years old, really good stick. His name's Taylor Umland, and I'm on him all the time. He said, well, I don't have as much room in the front. And I said, yeah, but your back is going to start hurting you because he's fishing about like as much as you are. He fishes MPFL. And I said, you're going to the ocean. You're going up to Sandusky Bay or you're going to, wherever.
St. Lawrence River, yeah.
Yeah, right. And you're getting the tar kicked out of you. It may not hurt you now, but there's going to be somewhere along the way that it's going to do that. That's just my crusade piece for the day, just to let you know that I still think I think you use every tool in the boat. I think you'd agree with me is that it doesn't matter what it is, the sharpest hook, the best line, best rods and reels, but there's things like that are important. What do you think about nets? I wanted to ask that question to a young guy because you probably have never used them. Have you much?
I hate using a net.
Mm-hmm. You think it's an advantage or a disadvantage?
Just depends. Like throwing a crankbait, advantage.
Okay.
But like, I don't know. It's like co-angler wise, like I'd rather me net them.
Swing them in.
Preferably. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And I don't trip over them and stuff like that. I just wondered if you thought they were an advantage at all.
Well, I mean, you think of it like this. If you have a net, you're trying to get that fish to the boat as fast as you can. 95% of the time, it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't have a net, you're trying to wear the fish out. You're trying to let them play. And, sometimes that's better. And people are like, oh, I don't know why these guys take forever on TV to get these fish in. And I'm like, well, you don't realize either what's going on. So, you look at it from both sides of it. I like not using the net because I'm in control. It makes me slow down, especially like throwing 8-pound line and 6-pound line. So, I was throwing 8 and 6 this week. And I caught a big one on 6-pound line. It took me, a couple minutes to get it in, which is fine. I got it in, but I wasn't in a rush trying to get it to the net or the net in the way or somebody knocking it off with the net. So I don't like using it.
Well, you have nobody to yell at when you lose one other than yourself. Because, you fish with buddies and they knock them off or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And, and plus there's something to trip over and stuff. I just was kind of curious since you really didn't have any nets most of your career. Is that something you thought about or something like that? Let's have one more deal here. I want to talk to you about the future. Okay. This deal right now, it takes money. And you got to have people that are willing to step up to you. Things like you're doing right now should help you. People know you can communicate well, some of that kind of stuff. Do you think it's going to gradually get better? Do you think this game will ever get to a position where you're not fishing for your own money all the time? Or do you think that it's going to stay kind of the way it is because it hasn't got the legs under it yet?
That's a really good question. I would want to say it's going to get better. It's so hard. Everything's so expensive, from food, hotels, gas. People don't realize this either. I keep a list of everything I spend, and I almost spend more money at little tackle shops, $50 here, $50 there. People don't realize that stuff. Like, oh, I'm gonna go spend a couple bucks on tackle. Well, that's like your 8th trip here this week, and you're at a couple grand now. So, I hope it gets better. I don't know. It's just so hard to do this without the support.
We are probably the last sport of a sizable sport, which there's more people participating in fishing than anything else, that really hasn't been able to get the non-endemic. Toyota is wonderful, don't get me wrong, but some of the other companies, the Ace Hardwares and some of those kind of people have not recognized that everybody that fishes works on their own stuff at home.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to be able to do a better job of selling that. I mean, that's kind of my job at Wired to Fish, is to try to get people to understand I can help you. I can help you sell more product. You guys are doing it out on the water, but you're looking at, is there a better way in your young mind to think maybe we ought to do this, or maybe we ought to talk to these guys? Have you ever thought of that? And I'm sure you're searching for those people.
Yeah, no, for sure. And halfway through this year, going, I'm already thinking about next year. And like you said, the non-academic side of things, nobody has it. And you see all these wrap boats, whether it's on the Elite, on the BPT. Well, 99% of them have the same freaking stickers on their boat.
Right.
So you take a company that's paying 10 guys and you're splitting it, 10 different ways. What if you found, like you said, an Ace Hardware or DeWalt, Milwaukee, that could pay one guy?
Mm-hmm.
All that money would be yours. And I know it's easy to talk about, and for me, I have some of the best sponsors, in my opinion, in the fishing industry.
Right.
Strike King Lures, that type of stuff. But I'm gonna search hard in this off season to try to find a non-academic sponsor, because there's a lot of money over there that has not been touched yet.
Well, and you think about this, is that those people, I always tell people, young people, I talk to a lot of high school kids. We started this high school program in Illinois, and I tell them every time I get a chance to, it's better to be one of few than one of many. And it doesn't matter what you're doing, if it's fishing or whatever. If you got 10 guys on a pro staff team and there's 80 guys that want in it, that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
If you've got 100 in it and you've got 180 guys that want to get in it, it's not that good, because you're not going to get sized out. You're not going to be able to be, pull the wheat and the chaff apart. You're not going to be able to do that. So, it's always a pleasure to watch young guys try to figure their way through the business side of this. And I've been doing this a long time, almost 38 years. And I can tell you that when you watch the young guys today, the first group of high school kids I ever took, I called them trip and squirrel hunters, because they're in the trees and they fell in the boat all the time. That's what I was dealing with. These kids can fish, and I know you can. And at a quicker age, at a 24-year-old that could go out and win an Open, or go out and go to the Classic twice, that's pretty special. And that would have never happened had we not had this maturation through the high school and college levels.
Absolutely.
I'm a big supporter of both of them, and I think that it's neat to see you doing what you're doing. Congratulations on a great win at Hartwell, man. That is just cool as a dickens.
I appreciate it.
Carry that trophy with you everywhere you go. It's heavy too, isn't it? It's a heavy.
I didn't think it was that heavy, honestly, for sure. But backing up what you said about the high school, and I was doing an interview after the weigh-in, and I told him, it was Chris with Bassmaster, and he said, "What is your plan?" I said, "The biggest thing for me is I want to leave footsteps for the younger generation to follow, the high schoolers, to see that it can be done. I didn't grow up in a fishing family. Nobody in my family knows anything about fishing, not one single thing.
Right.
And, I just want to prove that it can be done. If you have a dream, set your goals, write it down, look at it every day. They can be achieved. I promise you. Because this thing right here is the last thing I expected. And, anything's possible for sure."
I've heard an old saying. It said, "Don't follow your passion, but bring it along with you."
Yeah.
And I think that's important. There's all this gray hair that I've got. I didn't have this all the time. I wasn't born with all this gray hair. And a lot of it to me right now in my life, where I'm at in my career and what I'm doing, is I'm trying to give back. It's wonderful to hear you say what you just said about leaving footprints that someone else can follow. A lot of people aren't that way. A lot of people are pretty selfish when it comes to themselves, and they're looking out for themselves and not anybody else. Kudos to you for saying that you're kind of trying to do that, because I think that's so special. I think that's really awesome. I sent you just today, you're going to see this old ugly face is going to be sending you a Facebook follow guy. I'm going to be one of those guys. I try to do that not only to tell you that, hey, I think it's important what you're doing. Drew Gregory has been a longtime friend of mine. He's won 3 of the kayak series this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't talk to him. Try not to. Stay away a little bit. Well, yesterday I couldn't stand it anymore. He's won 3 in a row, and I sent him a note. And he says, "Well, I knew you might be watching, and I am. I watch every day, and I read everything I can." I really, Tristan, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being with us here at 365, Bass 365 and Livecast, and I look forward to what the future holds for you. I think you got your head on right. I think this is going to be a good ride for you. Just stay the way you are.
I appreciate it, brother. Thanks for having me on, Terry. It's always a blast. Bass 365. Yeah, just go watch more videos in this. There's a lot of good things you can learn. A lot of great guys have been on here, so go check it out. Don't just watch us. There's plenty more to watch.
Yeah, Ricky and I have kind of talked about, I'm going to guest host this once in a while. And, I had Wire to Fish Radio and Bass Fan Radio and
Yeah.
Radio and all this other kind of stuff. But we're just going to try to see how this works out. He's got other people who are going to do guest appearances too. But I like doing it. I like doing it. I like getting to talk to people like you. You're a good man.
I appreciate it, Terry. It means the world.
Best of luck in the future.
Thank you.
Bye. We have to wake Ricky up from his nap. Oh, there he comes.
Dude, that was awesome. That was really good.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's because of the talent. It's not because of this old guy sitting here. Tristan, if you
well,
look around my office, everything in my office, I've got a warehouse where I keep my boats and I've got all this stuff. But if you look in here, I'm going to tell you some stuff